Coming in. It's great to have you here. I silenced my phone so all those spam calls can go somewhere else for the night. They're strong, those spam calls.
They're getting me too.
One got us the other day. They called and told us that they were calling from our merchant account and could get us a better rate. So of course, like we took the call and
Hmm.
we're super excited. And no, they like totally fibbed. And then they were like, "Well, who are you using?" And I was like, "Well, didn't you say you were my merchant?" So I
Yep.
was like, I'm confused now. So yeah, it was crazy. I was like, ah, yeah. After, of course, like she had me on the phone for 10 minutes discussing what my rates were and the you know, per charge and if it was a debit card versus a credit card and all the jazz. I was really mad. I was mad. She got me, but it happens. All right. Well, it's 5 minutes after the hour, so we are going to get started. If you are new here, I am Eve Molzon. I am the founder of Dog Handler Academy. Every month, we try and host a webinar to help you to grow your business, learn more about your business, learn more about how to care for dogs, how to care for pets, become safer, more efficient, and more profitable at the end of the day. Because as much as we love dogs, we need to put food on the table, pay our mortgages, put gas in our cars, all those lovely things. So, today we are going to be talking about chaos to calm. And I think anybody who, when they first start out in the industry, we're in chaos. I don't think anybody starts out their facility calm. Um, we might have one or two dogs, but it grows pretty quickly, and then we learn that it can get chaotic and a little out of control without us actually understanding what's going on. So I'm super excited. I have Maddie Thomas here. She is the owner and head trainer at Azani Pro Training and Daycare. One of the great things about her is she specializes in developing well-rounded companion, sport, therapy, and service dogs through humane science-based training methods. Her experience spans puppy development, behavior modification, competition obedience, agility, rally, and advanced canine performance. Girl, there's not much you left out there.
I try to do it all.
Love it. Love it. She began working with dogs at a young age, competing in AKC events, and later expanding her experience through animal rescue and working with wolves, wolf hybrids, and other exotic canines. Love the wolf hybrids. They scare me and excite me all together.
So
She's
much fun.
dedicated, right? Yeah. Dedicated her career to helping dogs and their owners build strong, lasting partnerships through clear communication and effective training. She's also a certified member of the National Association of Dog Obedience Instructors, which is how I actually met her at a conference. It's a professional member of the International Association of Canine Professionals. She's also earned advanced titles in AKC obedience, rally, agility, and continues to promote higher standards in the dog training profession through education, ethical practices, and competition. I love all of it. So, tonight's webinar, the reason why you are here is From Chaos to Calm, alternative energy outlets before group play. And I think that's something that we all have struggled with or are struggling with. And that's super important to figure out what are some ways that you can work through that. And I know I've done quite a few things, trial and error. So I'm always excited to learn more. So without further ado, Miss Maddie, walk us through how we can work on helping dogs decompress and self-regulate before we let them join into the group.
Absolutely. So this is something I'm actually really passionate about because preventing those negative interactions is so critical in what we do. We want every dog to come through the door, have a positive experience, and we want their owners to get a tired, happy, healthy, safe dog back at the end of their day. And
Absolutely.
sometimes when they have that excited, over exuberant dog, they'll drop it off at the daycare and it's pulling, the kennel techs through the facility. It's maybe barking, maybe even lunging at the other dogs and just an over arousal. And as all of us have experienced, if we take that dog and immediately throw it into our play yard, a lot of times that over arousal can turn problematic. even if they're not intending to be aggressive. So I love for everyone to kind of think on what we can do first in between the checking the dog in and throwing them into the play yard to get them mentally prepared, mentally settled, and energy regulated before entering that environment. And this is for their safety, their success, but also the safety and success of the dogs who are already in the yard. So
Yeah.
that's really important to me, because I've seen it time and time again to where you throw one dog who's just unregulated into the yard, and it agitates the dogs who have already settled in.
Oh, absolutely. You know, that dog comes in and then the other dogs are like, hey, chill out. We've already been here. Take it down a notch. And then next thing you know,
Exactly.
you've got a little bit of a scuffle. So, no, 100%.
Now I want to go ahead and switch over. I'm going to see if I can do this as smoothly as possible. I'm going to apologize, everyone. I am not so good at the PowerPoint spot, but I'm trying to switch it over to doing that. So bear with me for a second, and I'm going to get my presentation going for y'all. To kind of just break down some of the options we can all utilize. Some of
Oh, Maddie, you got muted. There we go. Let's see here. I'll get Caitlin. Miss Caitlin, are you able to undo her?
I'm asking her to unmute, but it's not doing it from my side.
Hmm. See, technology is great, everybody. We love technology. There we go.
Okay.
Now you're
Oh, there we go.
unmuted.
Okay, I'm going to try to get back over to my slideshow and see if it lets me. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can see my screen or not, so let me
Yep.
know if you can see me and hear me. Can you hear
I
it and
can.
see?
We can. We're working.
All right, fabulous. Okay, so you kind of see in these pictures, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. You see the overstimulated doodle on the left, which is a dog I'm sure we all experience on a daily. And then the pit bull happily running on a treadmill. And whether you allow bully breeds or not in your daycare, I do strongly encourage this outlet for them because it's very, very successful. So this is all about different options that are going to help you settle everyone. So we're avoiding this over arousal, this overstimulation as we're entering the yard. Because as we talked about before, I mean, this can cause aggression and frustration. So here, there's even a herding breed right next to the doodle who's barking, and you know what will probably happen here shortly if we let that continue.
If only they were given the side eye.
Right, right. Um, over arousal equals conflict, and it can be conflict over the fact that, you know, the dog they're pestering doesn't want to interact. It could be that their over arousal manifests in reactivity. Sometimes over arousal turns into reactivity. Sometimes the over arousal is going to cause mounting behaviors. That is a very big frustration, especially if you have large males in your play yard. And so having that calmer, less aroused dogs is going to help with having less conflict. And exercising the dog's mind and body is going to help make that a little bit more manageable, a little bit easier to handle. So some of the activities that I strongly utilize here at my facility, and I encourage other facilities to take part in utilizing, is the slant mill, the fast cat or lure system. We use the Swift Paws. It's just cheap, it's easy, it's small, it's compact. We like to use the agility, and playing games like fetch and obedience training can also be really helpful.
I actually was just on a call earlier today with Michelle, the founder of Swift Paws. So,
Oh, fabulous. We love it here. So we have a whole Swift Paws yard. It's a long, long run at the back of our facility that we let the dogs take exercise breaks to really stretch and go full speed. So it's such a handy tool that we really do love utilizing here at our facility for some of those dogs who really need that extra. And with most of these options, the slant mill, the fast cat, the agility, fetch, and obedience, it does take some conditioning to get the dogs used to the exercise. So I do encourage it being originally an extra service to where you go ahead and have the dog come in just to learn this without the day of daycare. Keep it kind of focused on the exercise. And then once the dog is consistent with that game, that exercise, then we have them do that before their play group.
So would you recommend like they come in for maybe like a half a day, and that way you can like do a little session and then a break and a little session? Because I'm just envisioning like the first time you're trying to get them on the slat mill, they're like, time out, not doing it.
Exactly. Yes. 100%. And especially with the slat mill, it's probably the hardest option to get the dog conditioned to. Right. I will be completely honest. And not every dog enjoys it the first time they're on it. Actually, a lot of dogs do need a little extra encouragement to move through it. But once they get used to it, it is such a fun option. Let me see if this video will play for y'all. I don't know if it will or not. But this is a video for me. This is one my clients, and it's a breed that is very difficult to settle. And it's, if I can get it to pull.
Yeah, I think your video is trying to pull your bandwidth because now you're getting a little jumbly.
So one time, and I hope I don't get. I'll see if I can add it to everything after. Oh, yeah, now it's, sure. I don't know what my computer's doing now. You're going to just have to bear with me for a second.
It's catching up.
Loading.
No worries.
Loading. Get out of it. It's not letting me back up either. We'll see if it loads.
Yeah, if you have any other tabs open, you might need to close those if it's sucking.
So this is of my client dogs. See that? I don't know if it played well. I will have to. I don't know what's going on. Okay.
Technology is great.
I'm so sorry, y'all. Can you see where I'm at or no?
Fetch and a golden retriever grabbing the ball.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just go to that. I'll explain where I'm at. Oh my gosh, y'all. See what I mean? I am going to mess this whole thing up. So just bear with me. I'm going to move back like fast and see if I can get back to where we were. So the big thing, the video didn't play very well, sorry about that, but it's a bull terrier running really fast on the slant mill, and he just loves it. But the slant mill is really nice once the dog is conditioned to it because it allows the dog to pace themselves. So the dog can run as fast as they want or go at a leisurely trot. It also makes them think. It's a great confidence builder. It's going to give them that extra exercise and get them kind of to burn off that extra energy. So one of the doodles here on site, he actually has to utilize it daily when he's in boarding. Otherwise, he'll eat the walls in his kennel out of just having too much pent-up energy. He also can't go into playgroup if he doesn't use the slant mill because he just has too much energy. He'll end up pestering the other dogs. But just doing slant and mill 2 times a day, he's able to settle in his kennel. He's no longer destructive, and he's able to go out in the play yards every day. It has been a godsend for that dog and many of our other dogs in the program. So I really recommend it. You just have to take it slow. And a lot of times you're going to move the mill yourself initially, just having the dog on it, put your hands on the mill. and let them just take one step at a time with a lot of praise. So just note, this is going to take the longest to condition, but it's going to take the least amount of space in your facility. This is very compact, so you don't need a ton of room to do this, and it doesn't need a ton of extra manpower to manage this. So a great tool to utilize.
Have you ever like started with the electric treadmill and then moved them over to the slat?
No,
Does it transfer or no?
I haven't found it transferring very well because the electric moves for them. To where with the slant mill, they have to
do it.
They have to do it, yes. But taking the time to just put them on there, what we typically do the first 4 times is a straight run through. In other words, I'll turn the slant mill or lock the slant mill so it can't move, and I just have them run through it like it's a little chute to get them used to running on it without the slant actually moving. And we do that until the dog is jumping on there, jumping off, jumping on there, jumping off, and the dog's enjoying that process. And then we go ahead and hook them up and add the movement. But we add movement slowly, either utilizing a brake if your slant mill has a brake, or just putting your hands on it to prevent it from moving too fast.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Yeah. So here's one of the dogs in my facility enjoying it. It's, as you can tell, it can become a very fun way to overcome that. And we do charge extra. So it's a great extra revenue for dogs to utilize it. So we do charge for clients, and they can choose to have their dog utilize the slant mill during daycare, boarding, even grooming appointments. Now, we kind of mentioned before the lure or fast cat, the Swift Paws unit. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Swift Paws or the lure courses, but it's so much fun. It's the pulley system. It's your normal greyhound racing style, but without the real race. And it allows dogs to utilize their natural prey instincts to chase and go after the lure and run at full speed. Now with this, they are going to typically max their top speed. They're going to really push themselves. So normally this is going to take only a few minutes before the dog has exerted all their energy and needs a break. So you're looking at about 4 minutes of lure time to get a really good settled dog. So this is probably the fastest, most efficient way to get a dog just quickly settled in or quickly drained of the excess energy. But it does need a large space, and it does need some safety protocols in place to just prevent injury. So just be aware of that when you're kind of going into.
Yeah. So do you guys just have one of the Swift Paws, or do you have 2 that you've looped together?
We just have one, and we do a there and back. It's about 100 feet. And so we just do a there and back. And so the dogs will run 100 feet that way and then run 100 feet back and chasing the lure. And it works great. It lets them reach that top speed.
And what kind of lures are you using when you're doing that Swift Paws? I've seen people use just a piece of cloth, a bag, a toy.
Yep. So we stick to the good old trusted poop bag. We always have an extra poop bag if someone catches it, but a poop bag tends to work just fine.
Gotcha.
And it's a great option not only for your large breeds, but your small breeds as well. So some of the smaller breeds aren't going to do as well on the slant mill, depending on the slant mill you have. So lure could be a better option for them, and a little bit better option for those dogs who are too timid to do something like agility or slant mill. So it's a good option if you have a dog who's more prey driven and a little bit less handler focused, or a little less confident to climb or overcome. Now I do encourage, if you don't have a lure yet, a flirt pole could be a good alternative. It's also a good way that we use to test if the dog would like the lure course. So just getting you can purchase a flirt pole if you want, but honestly, we just get a long lunge whip and attach the poop bag to the end of it to see if we can get any drive that way. And we kind of pull it around and get them to see if they're going to chase and engage.
No, it's perfect. Your picture looks just like my hound, Steve. Like dead serious. That is my hound, Steve. Like it looks
I
identical
love
to him.
it.
Only he's
That
laying
is,
on the floor right now, but like that is exactly what he looks like. And I will tell you, he loves the lure course.
that is awesome.
He just thinks that's the best thing ever. And yeah, it does. It wears them out in like 5, 10 minutes. It's great.
Yes.
So
It is definitely the fastest way to burn that energy. And it's also, we've used it, I wish my videos were working, but I'm not even going to try this time. But the video at the bottom of it, and I'll send this link to you, Eve, and see if you can,
perfect.
you know,
We'll
maybe
send it
share
out.
it. Yeah, but the video is of two morbidly obese huskies who came in for our weight loss of boot camp, and it was adorable. These huskies are way too big, but they chased that lure, and we set up little hurdles, and they would jump over the hurdles, and it was hilarious. But they had a great time.
Love
And they
it.
were like, "Ooh, my screen just changed again." It was successful until the owner stopped coming, and then they gained all the weight back. But that's okay. That's how it happens.
It happens.
Let's see.
But we did have a question before you get too far.
Yeah.
What brand of slat mill, or is there ones that you recommend or ones that you don't recommend? I will tell you, if
Sure.
you buy anything off Temu, make sure that you look at the sizes.
Yes,
And I
yes.
love Temu, by the way. I'm a Temu junkie. I order a ton of stuff off Temu, but the biggest thing is always looking at, in my opinion, the length of the slat mill because you want to hit the stride of the dog appropriately. But yeah, if there's brands that you
Absolutely.
recommend.
I honestly don't know all of the brands as well as I probably should. I'm not going to lie, we got the one off of Amazon, the largest version they sold on Amazon. And it works out pretty well. I will say it does have its faults. It does not have a hands brake, which I've learned is something I really would like to have. But as far as usability, it works really well. There are some more expensive brands that they actually use for like competitions and things along those lines that do come with a brake. If you can financially afford it, I would recommend getting the largest size that's adjustable with a handheld brake. That's going to make a huge difference on your ability to control, because there are those occasions the dogs will get on the slant mill and panic, and they'll go into a run not out of enjoyment but out of fear, and you don't want to let that happen. You need to put on the brake. And so me and my team end up tearing up our hands trying to hold the mill from moving. So that would be the time to where having that hand brake is really helpful. It also would be good just if you have a dog who loves it but doesn't know how to regulate themselves, to kind of slow them and make them regulate.
Fabulous.
Okay. So any other questions before I move on?
Nope, you are all good.
Okay. So this one's kind of dear to my heart. Agility was my first sport when I was a kid, and I still compete in it, and my children compete in it. It is my heart project. I love agility. But agility is fabulous as a way to regulate, build confidence, and build handler relationship. So program on the training side who has anxiety, fear, or reactivity, we actually start with agility, believe it or not, and it helps them build confidence and self-awareness. Also, when moving their feet, they can't really think about anything else. So if the dog doesn't like you or doesn't trust you, if they're having to focus on where their feet fall, they suddenly forget about that for a while, and it lets them get used to you being beside them without nerves. So it's a great confidence builder, but it's also a great physical exercise for them. So even if you have a not too big of a space and you can set up just some jumps, little hurdles, and a tunnel, building the confidence, working through that for a while is a great way to build confidence in the dog and build some trust from them, and also run a little bit of their energy out. Now, unless you're running at full speed, it's not going to be that full body workout. So you have to go full speed unless if you're wanting to burn energy. But you can definitely settle the mind with agility. I find it a great way to calm the dog's mind, get them focused, get them thinking, and a little bit out of that erratic over exuberance. Now, this is something I'm sure we all have utilized, is playing games of fetch in our daycares. A lot of times you don't see people doing it before they take the dog into the play yard. But actually taking that time to pull the dog into an individual yard, if you have that option, and playing some long ball fetch. So not the short fetch that you're going to be able to do in most play yards, but really throwing it far, letting that dog get that full reach, that full stride, really burn that extra energy, and also have the positive endorphin release that they have on playing fetch. Most of the dogs who do enjoy fetch, they're really excited about it. So it makes that fear or anxiety maybe a new dog has go away. It's also a great way, again, to get them to really stretch out and really run. But I would recommend going to the largest yard you have and really throwing the ball, not really short distance games of fetch, but more real long, far games of fetch. Now, you'll know, I don't know if you can see it very well, but the tip I give for this is something I found very helpful in kind of time restraints, is I like to have a bucket of balls right next to me. So if the dog is not a good retriever and chases the ball but does not bring it back, I don't have to go to the end of the field to go get it. I can wait till the dog comes partially back and then throw another ball to kind of keep the game going. And then at the end of the game, I can go and collect all the balls at once.
Good idea.
And then if the dog enjoys it and they're not possessive, taking the ball into the play yard. Now the dog is focused on the ball and not on the other dogs in the yard, which allows them to go ahead and play and interact with the other dogs, still having that positive mindset. So good option entering the yard with them focused, as long as they're not possessive of the ball, of course. Now, this is also a good exercise for small breed dogs. I don't think people utilize fetch as much as they should with your small guests, your tiny tots. So I recommend really getting a bunch of small squishy balls for your small breed dogs. They are a great way to get the small breed dogs to exercise and run and loosen up. Big thing there is just making sure your small balls don't end up in your large yard. So just making sure you have good regulations there, just because they can be a choking hazard for your larger breeds.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, so my favorite balls are actually Amazon. Amazon has a brand of balls. They have small and big, and then they have different densities. So they have some that are squishy, and then they have some that are more solid. And the key is that they have 2 holes. So in the event one were to get stuck in the dog's mouth, just like the Lifesaver, you could rotate it and the dog could still get air down in there. So
that is always the right way to go.
Brand.
Yes.
Amazon brand for the win.
I love that. Yes, that's perfect. And again, this is a great option for your small dogs, because a lot of times they're not going to be able to do the slant mill. They might not be able to be as confident with agility. Now, I say that. My Papillon loves agility and is an awesome little agility dog. And I know a lot of small breed dogs that are as well. But just in case they're not as interested in that, doing fetch with them is a great option. I also find it absolutely adorable when they call at it like a cat or a fox. And you see that so often with these small guys. So utilize your games of fetch can be so helpful.
Love it.
Now, obedience is also a good option. I will stand by till the end of time. Working the brain calms the dog faster than working the body. That is something I strongly believe in. I can run my border collies for an hour. They'll take a small breather and then they'll say, "Mom, let's do it again." You do about 15 minutes of obedience training and they curl up in a little ball and take a nap. They need that mental stimulation to help get regulation and get relaxation. So obedience can really work well to calm, regulate, and the brain stimulation really can be equally, if not more exhausting than physical exercise to many dogs. It also can help stop nuisance behaviors that might make them less enjoyable in your play yard. So having those obedience commands in place before putting them in the yard is so helpful for your whole team to be able to better communicate, engage, and enjoy the dog in their yard. So I really recommend, if you have a chance, to spend about 10 minutes with the dog doing obedience drills before entering the play yard. And this just makes sure they're in the right headspace, they're listening to the commands, they're listening to the handlers, they're respecting your handlers. So when they go into the play yard and you tell them to come or to sit or leave it, they're already in that headspace of listening to your voice. Now, big thing is keeping it consistent and making sure everyone's working the same way on your team. I do think that the basic commands like sit, down, no jumping, all of those basic things can typically be worked on through positive reinforcement by the kennel techs. Most of our kennel techs are really good at working through that. I'm sure yours are as well. But more advanced behaviors, more difficult behaviors, I do encourage having a certified trainer on your team to help you work through. So if you don't already have a trainer on your team, it is so helpful because they can then help not only just the dog right then, but they can help your team, your techs, learn how to handle different situations and stop nuisance behavior. So something I strongly recommend there. Now, when looking for adding a trainer to your team, if you don't already have someone in the training position, I do encourage you to get a certified trainer. So NADOI is the organization I am certified through. It doesn't have to be NADOI, it could be ICP, it could be ACTT, whatever you want to go through, but make sure they are certified. This means they've gone through the process of proving they have experience, proficiency in education to really know what they're saying. There's a lot of backyard trainers who don't properly have the correct education. And so I really encourage you to make sure if you are hiring, it's not just experience, it is certification and experience.
All of the above. All of
Yes.
the above. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I say that as somebody who is a member of APDT, ICP, IAABC. You never know enough when it comes to reading the dogs, working with dogs, and training dogs. So,
absolutely. It's always continued education. And the more you can do continued education, the better. So that's something also to look for, is that the trainer you're hiring does do continued ed. So I, love to attend all of the different seminars, all the different workshops that I can attend. And I encourage every trainer to do so. So if you find a trainer that, you ask what their certifications are and what continued education they do, and they look at you puzzled, then I would politely move on. Because yes, absolutely, just move on.
Yeah, I've met great trainers that have, no letters or certifications, but they go to conferences, they attend webinars and workshops, right? Like, so that's fine that they didn't take the test, but the fact that they are dedicated to learning more and understanding that you will never know enough. And
absolutely. And that's kind of like you said yourself, you don't have to be a certified trainer to be a member of those organizations to show that you are trying to build on your education, which I think is so helpful. And I really do encourage all owners of the doggy daycares to do that as well. They're not just for trainers. I promise that education is fabulous. And go and continue your education on dog behavior, dog psychology, understanding body language, all of the above. Now, also something I like to stress, again, whether that's positive reinforcement or balance training, you choose what fits for your style, your organization. But regardless of what style, I encourage that the trainer always be in view. So my trainers, I've got a big glass window. Kind of my training center is kind of set up like a dance studio, if you will. There's a seating area and big windows, so everyone can watch the trainers as they train. To me, this is a great practice to make sure nothing is happening out of eyesight. There's been a bunch of horror stories about trainers who do stuff and people find out about it later. I never want that, so I want my trainers to always be on view, on show, so I know that they're always going to be doing everything by company protocol.
Beautiful. Love it.
I think that went fast.
And you hit on something too, so I'm going to stress this as well. So I go to all the stuff, and I take staff. So I'm taking a staff member who actually is taking their college credits to become a veterinarian. So I'm taking him with me to IECP in California. I have two staff members that I'm taking to Canis in Chicago. I do that because having better educated staff makes my facility better and it makes my other staff better. So I'm investing in one person or two people, and then they get 2 weeks to decompress, and then they have to give a presentation to the rest of my staff during a staff meeting. So it is an investment. I will also say if you send people to places, have them sign a little note that, if they bounce on you within 6 months or a year, that they have to reimburse you for that education if it's a significant dollar amount. And for me, significant is anything over 2,000.
Yes.
But just wanted to put that out there that you never go wrong investing in your staff.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's kind of where this next slide goes is, again, I'm with NADOI. It doesn't have to be with NADOI. But if you have a trainer on your team who is not a member of a dog training organization already, who's not already certified, I strongly encourage you to pay the extra money to get them certified, to have them join those different organizations so they do get access to continued education. So that's something I do for the trainers and my lead techs here. Is they're a part of, they get memberships in a couple of the different organizations as associates. And then if they're actually a dog trainer, then as a certified dog trainer. That way I know that they have access to that continued education, and I can make sure they're utilizing it. We do little quizzes and things like that to kind of keep it entertaining, but also make sure they're actually utilizing that service.
Fabulous.
Now, just kind of in closing on different options, and then I'd love to answer any questions if anyone has it. But if you have a small space, so if you go, hey, a lot of those options are a little bit too space consuming, too large for your current facility. If you have a smaller facility, the slant mill and obedience is something you can do in a tight space. So if you've got a small space, you don't have an extra yard to utilize for fetch or agility or lure coursing, getting a slant mill and doing obedience is a very space efficient option. If you've got a mid-sized facility, those options, but adding some jumps and fetch can be a great option as well. And then if you have a large space, the sky's the limit. Have fun with it. In my facility, we have all of the options because each dog is different, and not every dog is going to work for one of those, but a lot of times one of those will work for every dog.
Nice. Perfect. All right. Somebody asked for the link to the Amazon balls. I will work on that. I am not tech savvy at all. So I'm going to look it up. I'm going to send it to my person, and then she can put the link in there because, again, not my forte, right? We're dog people. We're dog people that are dabbling in this. So another question. If you had a dog that came in and it's their first time coming to daycare, what would you recommend to start them with if they seemed shy? You kind of talked a little bit about like the slat mill might be a little overwhelming. So would you start them on a lure course, or would you maybe do the agility or obedience? Where would you start with the shy dog?
So that's a great question, and each shy dog is a little bit different. So if it is completely shut down, so it's not wanting to drive towards a lure, not wanting to drive towards a toy, I might do a low level agility exercise to just build some trust. So putting jump bars maybe an inch off the ground and walking over that with the dog just to show them that we're doing something together. I'm not directly pushing towards the dog. I'm not putting any spatial pressure towards the dog. I'm not asking them to take treats that they're too uncomfortable to eat or play with something they're too uncomfortable to play with. I'm just asking them to follow me as we overcome something together. So that would be a great opportunity to do low level agility. And then once they build that trust, I would move up to some calmer, easier obedience. And then hopefully if they open out of their shell, then you can try the other options such as the lure or slam mail.
No, perfect. All right, so I sent Caitlin the link for the Amazon so she can try and get it into the chat. Sorry. I wish I was better at technology. We went over brands for Slap Mill. Is there a place that you buy your agility equipment? Do you make your agility equipment?
Yeah, so I go to J&J Pet Supplies. It is my favorite online store to buy all of my sports equipment.
Perfect. Love that. Is there a break? Look at that. She's got it on there. Is there a break that you give them after the slap mill before they go into group, or does it go slap mill and then straight into group, or do you give them like a 30-minute like cool down time, drink the water before they go in?
So definitely a small cool down, but not a heavy cool down. So I don't want them to take a full nap to where they're now back up and back to full energy. So I'm not going to do a 30-minute break, but I do want to give them a chance to breathe, to regulate, to drink some water. Because if they go in exhausted and thirsty, then they might get a little bit possessive or frustrated at the water dish. So I'd like them to go ahead and drink their water, have their breather, settle for a second, and then once they seem settled to where they're not antsy, they're not looking for something, that's when they're going to go into the play yard.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts on a sniff station set up for dogs before they go into the yard?
Sniff stations are great enrichment. So I love them for enrichment's sake. It could be an okay option, just kind of depending again on the drive of the dog. If you have a dog who's very nosy and that's something, even a snuffle mat with a few treats, something along those lines can be great. It just kind of depends because it's not going to burn energy, and it might not necessarily utilize the brain to its fullest potential. Now, if you were doing something like a scent trail, to where they actually did have to process, so doing something like having I know it's silly, but having a treat and then dragging a treat across the floor to point B and then having them follow the treat trail towards the smell of the treat, but there's a treat at the beginning, end, and middle. That could be a way to utilize their brain in that scent search a little bit more. So I'd want it to be a little bit more of a scent work exercise than just a snuffle mat where it could actually kind of build some frustration.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like barn hunt. So like
Mm-hmm.
take something that's really stinky, a sardine, and bury it somewhere, a box or in a tissue, in a box, in a blah blah blah. So like you said, they have to like trail it or work and get into it. So yeah, we actually have a kiddie pool that we have like 100 tennis balls in.
So
And
fun.
then and that's what we'll do. Like we'll take and usually just use their kibble, but they're spending so much time like having to stand on the balls and move the balls and move them with their nose and search and seek that, yeah, 10, 15 minutes of that, then they're like, oh my God, that was a full workout.
Yes,
And
that is the way to do it. Absolutely.
yeah. So in your mind, it needs to be sent with either brains to like work and process or a physical trailing type of thing. So a dual purpose.
Yes, because I find things like a snuffle mat, although they do have their place, sometimes can build frustration in the dog. because it's just stationary and they're struggling to get the kibble. If the dog is too stressed, that can almost make them feel, almost build a possession aggression, if you will, because they're trying to figure it out, and it might feel like something else is, you're hovering over them or there's other dogs around. It might kind of build a little bit more agitation versus if they're moving and exploring or working out a puzzle, it hopefully is going to have less of that cornered feeling.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So I saw something really interesting at somebody else's facility. So they had their slap mill in their grooming room because they primarily use it before the groomers come in. Groomers are coming in at
Mm-hmm.
around 8 or 9, and dogs are coming in around 6 or 7. So they had it in their grooming room, and then they took a patio furniture cover, and then they would put it over the slap mill, and then it like Velcros on the bottom. So then during the
Huh.
day, when the groomers are in there, none of the hair is getting in there.
I love it.
I was like, that was brilliant. Yeah, because at first I was like, what's that thing under the sheet there? Like, what is that? And they're like, oh, this is our slap mill. I was like, yep. Because again, it doesn't take up much space. And they actually had said that when they have a drivey dog, that they would use it for that dog before grooming them to
Mm-hmm.
help burn off that energy, and then the dog would stand better and allow for the grooming. So, but yeah, they just use a um, patio furniture cover. I think it was like a grill cover, so it was like
That's
big
great.
enough that it went over it, and then it just velcroed under the bottom. So like you said, like small spaces, getting creative. I know when I first started doing dog training in my facility, we used the grooming room, the boarding hallway, because dogs weren't running, through the hallway. So then we would do flirt pole in there. We would play fetch down the hallway, an 80-foot hallway, and you're just fetching, fetching,
Mm-hmm.
fetching. Oh, that was a question. Do you ever use a ball launcher, or are you always just kind of have your bucket of balls and you're just rotating through there?
I just have a bucket of balls and rotate through there. Now, a ball launcher isn't a bad idea depending on the length you're throwing the ball, the
Sure.
facility. But for us, I just manually throw. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Just sometimes you don't want to touch the slimy ball.
Yeah, my hands are so dirty at all times with the dogs and the kibble, and they most of the time smell like beef liver anyway. So
There you go. So how many do you have certain staffers that do this, and about how many dogs? I guess that's kind of a loaded question, right? But like, so are you spending like the first hour that you open just running certain dogs through here for those clients that need that? Are you telling them they have to drop off by a certain time?
yes, yeah. So we open here at 7 a.m. I don't know what everyone's average time of opening is, but we open at 7
I'm
a.m.
5:30 a.m. I know I'm the
Look
early
at
bird.
you.
I'm
You're
the early
awesome.
bird.
I'm not a morning person, so seven's the earliest we do here. But we open at 7, and so for the first hour and a half to 2 hours, what I have is, well, one tech is taking everyone on their potty breaks. If it's one of the dogs who needs the added enrichment, the dog potties, and then they hand them off to the exercise tech, who then takes them in to do their exercise, and then they'll put them up and grab the next dog who's potty who needs exercise, and they kind of go through that in the morning, and we try to do it twice a day if we have enough dogs and availability.
No, perfect, perfect. Question, what about the tug of war toy that mounts to the ground? And there's also the ones that like you could put on a spring pole.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely a body workout. It just depends on, again, if you're building a level of frustration that then can turn into agitation. So I try to avoid things
Oh,
where the
sure.
dogs are too frustrated. So typically, if you've got a Mal who just finished playing a harsh game of tug of war and you move too fast, I don't know if we've all experienced this, but
Yep.
they'll come and they'll get a good bite on you or nip on you, and not because they're aggressive in any way, shape, or form, but because they're overstimulated from that activity, and so then they redirect on you, or they're frustrated, so they redirect. So I don't want a dog in a frustrated mind or in an over-aroused mind to the point where they might become possessive or they might redirect. And so I personally wouldn't advise that. Now, I don't know if you've had success with that in your facility. I'd love to hear about that from other people if they've had success with that. But in my experience, a good game of tug is fabulous, but unless you have a 30-minute break to mellow the energy after, they would be too over-roused entering the play yard.
Yeah, because a lot of times that tug isn't really wearing out that body nearly enough.
Exactly. And then it just got them in that play mind, but a little bit more of an aggressive play style, which is typically what I'm trying to avoid in the play yard.
Sure.
Although I do love a good game of tug when it comes to training. So I use it all the time as a reward for obedience. Love it. And a reward for agility. I love it. So I love a good game of tug. Don't get me wrong. I use it all the time, but I don't necessarily count it as a way to calm the dog down. I actually use it to rile the dog up.
No, that's perfect. And then, are you keeping the dogs so they potty, they come in, they do their exercise, and then when you say put them up, are they staying in that room and watching other dogs exercise, or is that too stimulating and they should actually like go to a different room or a different timeout space?
Yep. So in our facility, we do have a lot of different kennels and bedrooms. So our bedrooms are kind of quiet. They can't see the other dogs from their bedroom.
Gotcha.
So it does have a kind of calming space. If your facility doesn't have that availability, I think putting them in a crate nearby with puppy blinds. So we utilize little blinders to prevent the dogs from necessarily seeing the other dogs doing it. That could be an option to let them just take that break without having to take up too much extra space.
No, perfect. Awesome. Well, I love it. I think we've got everybody's questions answered. So I think we did a great job. We went over the brands that we liked. We put some links in there. I think all of that is great. We talked about shy dogs. We know about the obnoxious ones, the ones that are ready to go. They're coming in hot. Like I like to say, they're coming in hot. All the good stuff. Perfect. Well, Maddy, if anybody has questions, how can they potentially reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I love answering any questions. So you can find me on the Facebook page. I've got a Maddy Thomas Facebook page. I also have the Azani Pro dog training Facebook page. You can follow me either way and message me either way. I will get it. The Azani Pro one might have a little bit more of a delay because my receptionist at the front will have to come flag me down versus my phone pinging me on the Maddy Thomas one. But I'd love to answer any questions that way. If you want to have a phone conversation, you can absolutely call in at Azani Pro Training and ask for me. And I would love to speak with other business owners on different ideas and share thoughts.
Awesome. And then give a plug for Nadoy. Like, what do they got going on? How should people learn more?
Yeah, so Nadoy is fabulous. It is the longest running dog obedience instructors association that certifies dog trainers and dog obedience instructors. It is working on kind of being the middle ground. So right now we have a lot of division in the industry that we're all over familiar with, between whether you should be positive or balanced and how balanced is balanced and all of that good stuff. Nadoy doesn't have a stance. It's not about one side versus the other. It's about providing education, understanding, and communication. So it's a community of dog trainers supporting dog trainers. And it's about building better goals, a better understanding. We've also got different fun things that we're working on. Being on the board, I have some really, really fun things coming up. So if you guys follow Nadoy or join Nadoy, we're hoping to start hosting some really cool events soon for education as well as for fun. So definitely worth joining. If you want to become a certified member of Nadoy, you can definitely apply for certification. It does take a little longer. You have to have 5 years of training experience. We're thinking about adjusting that, but there'd have to be 5 years of training experience plus a lot of education. The associate membership is new. That allows you to join in and get the education without necessarily having to have all the education already. So I encourage you, if you want to just check us out and figure out what we're about, just become an associate member, join in, have a good time. We love having more people to share their thoughts, their opinions, and build a better dog training community.
All important stuff. All important stuff. Well, thank you again for joining us, and thank you everybody for chiming in. We will have another webinar next month, but if you're looking to increase your profits, decrease your stress, becoming more efficient, join us at the Business Leadership Summit. That is September 17th to the 20th in Chicago, Illinois. It is jam-packed days of education, and you will not leave there without some actionable items. So if I don't see you next month, I hope to see you in Chicago in September. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.